the beautiful city of Asaba, there lived a very handsome young man named OBIORA, who works as a driver for Mr. KALU. OBIORA had lived and worked for Mr. KALU for a period of 2 years. When OBIORA had come to Mr. KALU, he had come to learn how to make shoes, as Mr. KALU owned a very big factory that produces shoes for all sex, for male, female, and for children. But when OBIORA had come, there was no space in the factory. OBIORA was willing to take the job of a driver in order to learn how to make shoes, to which Mr. KALU told him no problem. But when OBIORA came, the only thing he told the KALU's family about himself was his name. They did not know anything else about OBIORA. Nothing about his family, nothing. Even while he was staying in Mr. KALU's boys' quarters, they knew nothing about him. OBIORA just had 2 pairs of clothes and he repeated them occasionally. He wasn't bothered. Even when people at the factory teased him, he had nothing to say. Mr. KALU and his wife tried their little best to support OBIORA in every little way they could. They sent food to him whenever they made dinner. They tried to support OBIORA. OBIORA was really grateful, but OBIORA never showed too much. He barely smiled. No one could tell if OBIORA was happy or was sad. Mr. KALU's son, Amechi, was still in secondary school, so he was the only child available at the moment. So it was just Mr. KALU, his wife, and Amechi that knew OBIORA. Mr. KALU's 3 kids were still abroad in UK. They were doing their masters. Most of them were already rounding up. OBIORA knew only Amechi at the time being. And he liked Amechi, but he wasn't the kind of person that wanted to get too close with anyone. He greeted Amechi from a distance, and whenever he went to pick Amechi from school, he tried to check up on him, but he talked very little. He wasn't that kind of person that wanted to get too close to anyone. He knew his time with Mr. KALU was temporal. It was just a 5 years contract, and he didn't want anything about him to be left behind when he was done with his contract. And during this period, Mr. KALU's 3 daughters had returned back to Nigeria. His first daughter, Chioma, the second daughter, Amaka, and the third daughter, Ngozi, had returned back to Nigeria, and OBIORA had gone to pick them from the airport. The moment they saw OBIORA holding their names, they were a bit shocked, as they never knew their father had a very handsome man as a driver. While they sat down in the car and OBIORA journeyed back home, his eyes and that of Ngozi kind of met, but they quickly returned back to what they were doing. And after that day, the 3 kids had tried to know more about OBIORA. They've asked their parents about OBIORA, but they noticed their parents said little or nothing about him. All they knew was his name and nothing else. No one knew where he was coming from. No one knew anything about his family. Chioma and Amaka weren't really a fan of OBIORA at all. They hated the fact that he repeated his clothes. In fact, that he had just 2 clothes. They saw him as disgusting and irritating. The fact that he was even staying in their father's boys' quarters, left alone, was annoying to them. Whereas Ngozi was the kind one. She took pity in him, and she felt deep within that probably because he was poor, he didn't want to associate too much with her family. She thought that having to associate too much meant like he was taking advantage of his situation, or he was expecting too much. She totally understood OBIORA's rules and regulations. She totally understood everything about him. The fact that he barely spoke or even asked for anything. Even when he ran out of anything, he never asked of anything. Even when his tap wasn't flowing, he would prefer to go and fetch water outside the compound rather to ask them to help pump water. He was that kind of person that never wanted to make someone uncomfortable in any way. He preferred being stressed. And that was the major reason Mr. KALU liked him. Not because he enjoyed being stressed, but the fact that he was a bit considerate. He wasn't expecting anything from anyone. Whatsoever you give to him was perfect by him. Providing you're paying him the stated amount that was agreed, OBIORA was okay. He wasn't that kind of worker that was thinking and expecting of anything from their boss. And while OBIORA worked for Mr. KALU, 2 years, 6 months had passed. And it was time for OBIORA to start learning shoemaking. Not because any of Mr. KALU's staff had resigned or anything, but because Mr. KALU noticed that OBIORA was really dedicated. He really wanted to know how to make shoe. So Mr. KALU told him, it's time for you to start. And while OBIORA put interest into the shoemaking, Mr. KALU could see genuine dedication. When OBIORA was a maid driver, OBIORA was always feeling bored, but the moment he learned how to make shoe, he was always busy. He was always even helping to create new design. He was also asking about materials, how to identify the best one, how do you know the best material for sew. He was that inquisitive one. And Mr. KALU really liked him. The fact that OBIORA was willing to learn, the fact that OBIORA could bring up ideas that could turn out being good, Mr. KALU loved everything about OBIORA, but he was reserved with the fact that no one knew anything about him. One fateful day, Mr. KALU had come out from his house and was ready to go to work. But OBIORA was nowhere to be found. Mr. KALU was very surprised. OBIORA has never, ever stood in front of his car late. OBIORA was always there at exactly 7:30 a.m. every day. Whether he had had breakfast or not, he was always standing ready to pick Mr. KALU. So that day, he looked around and did not find OBIORA. He tried calling him on phone. No one was picking up. And he quickly asked his last daughter, Ngozi, why don't you check if OBIORA is in his boys' quarters? Ngozi looked at her father and said, Papa, okay. And she went towards OBIORA's room and she noticed that he was lying down on the floor, looking like someone that was sick, unattended to, and she quickly screamed for help. And her dad had come to help OBIORA. They had taken OBIORA to the hospital, and when OBIORA was stabilized, OBIORA was really grateful. He was grateful to the KALUs for helping to save him, not because he was really sick, he was just having a high fever. He was really glad. He also thanked Ngozi for coming around to call him and for calling out for help. Ngozi told him, that's not a big deal, I'm just glad to be of help. But with the passing days, Ngozi made it a point of duty to always pass OBIORA's house. And whenever he asked her what she was doing, she was going to quickly tell him, I was your lucky charm once, probably I could be your lucky charm again. I don't want anything to happen to you. I just want to make sure you're okay. OBIORA looked at her and asked her, why do you care so much about me? You don't know anything about me. Ngozi said, do I have to know everything about you to care about you? Are you not a living being? Are you not breathing? I care about everything, be it animal or anything. You're in my father's compound. If anything happens to you, do you know they are going to come and arrest us? Even though we don't know anything about you, people always pretend not to be somebody until when something happens to them and the whole world will come for someone's head. Please, I'm just trying to make sure that my father's assets is complete. That was the very first time anybody had seen OBIORA laugh. OBIORA laughed and laughed. He couldn't hold it back. And he quickly asked Ngozi, am I part of your father's assets? And she looked at him and said, not really. I just want to make sure you're okay because I don't want anything to happen to you. And next thing I'll hear my father is in prison. And that's just it. And OBIORA said, okay, no problem. He entered into his house and banged the door. Ngozi strode back to her room, feeling unbothered and not concerned at all. She was just doing her job to her. But with the passing days, Ngozi always visited OBIORA. Whether he needed her presence or not, she was passing by. And whenever her mom wanted to give OBIORA food, be it meat pie, moi moi on Saturdays, or even rice and stew on Sunday, Ngozi would volunteer to go. Her mom had told her one certain day, Ngo, hope you're not liking that man. Ngozi said, Mama, so because I have decided to be the sacrificial lamb to save the stress and help everyone to go and deliver something now, you've concluded I'm liking him. Her mom said, because you're not that type of person. We all know in this house, you love being in your room. We know that you love being on your own, reading books. So how come all of a sudden you want to start delivering food? Ngozi said, Mama, please, I've already gone abroad and I've changed. That's just it. Change is constant. Her mom didn't know what to say, but quickly told her, no problem. Thank you for helping us deliver. And she asked her to leave. But with the passing days, her sisters, Chisom and Amaka, they knew that Ngozi liked OBIORA and they started teasing her with it. They always asked her, Unko, is it that your standards have not changed? How can you tell me you're attracted to that poor thing? That church rat, that thing that can't even afford to buy himself clothes. He earned a lot from our father's company. That pays him as a gardener because he's the one that takes care of the compound. That pays him as a driver, and that still pays him as a shoemaker. And at the end of the day, he can't even afford to buy himself another set of clothes. Because he looked at them and said, okay, since you think clothes is his major problem why he's existing on earth, go and buy it for him. If you cannot help to fix someone's problem, don't complain about it. I don't know why you look down on people. We were once poor, but you make it look like as if you're all high and mighty. Do you know whether he's saving the money? Or do you know whether he's sending it home? Do you know his situation? You know he barely speaks to anyone. And probably because he didn't want people to start advising him on what to do and what not to do. Chisom and Amaka couldn't stop laughing. They laughed and laughed. And they quickly asked Ngozi, this one you're coming to his defense. It's really true that you've fallen for him. You better remove your eye from him. He won't even accept to get married to you. Do you know why? He knows that he won't even give your hands in marriage. So remove your eyes from there. I want to look for someone in your class. Someone that befits you. Someone that when that sees, that will be glad to give your hands in marriage to the person. Remove your eyes from that poor thing. Because he did not answer. She wasn't even bothered. Because OBIORA had not even noticed her as a friend, what more as a girlfriend. So all this blabbing was for no good reason. But with the passing days, OBIORA gradually grew fond of Ngozi. In fact, he started waiting for her to do her normal routine check because Ngozi was the only person that actually cared about him. Aside coming to drop food, she made sure to pass every day, both morning and evening, to make sure he was breathing, he was okay. One certain day, he called her and asked her to sit down, and he gave her her best ice cream. And she was shocked. And she looked at him and said, Sir? OBIORA said, yes, I'm your father's driver. And you should know I know most things your father likes because I'm the one that mostly picked them up and all those things. Ngozi said, okay, no problem. So why are you calling me today? OBIORA looked at her and said, I just wanted to tell you thank you for always checking up on me. Ngozi looked at him and asked him, what's your real name? It's your name, really, OBIORA? OBIORA said, yes, that's my name. And she asked OBIORA who? OBIORA smiled and said, that's your assignment. Go find out my full name. Ngozi said, how am I supposed to? When even my parents only know your name, OBIORA, no one knows any other thing about you. OBIORA said, okay. Sometimes people like to keep their life simple, and you should respect that. Ngozi said, yes, I do. I respect everything about you, but I feel like we are getting to that point where we could call ourselves friends. OBIORA looked at her and said, as a friend, then you should know things about me, so what do I like? Ngozi looked at him and said, you like eba and soup. OBIORA laughed. I said, why did you say that? Because whenever mom asks you on phone what you're going to eat, the moment she said that there is soup, you pick that. OBIORA said, okay. Why I mostly pick eba and soup is because when we get to the factory, we do lots of work. And most times in the factory too, we get to eat rice as lunch. So having to eat rice again as dinner isn't okay by me. So most times, if there's no beans or moi moi, then I go for eba and soup. OBIORA looked at her and said, nevertheless, I'm glad that you're a bit observant. Okay, you can go now. Ngozi was happy to be with OBIORA. The conversation felt short, but she was really glad that OBIORA could at least talk to her. Because deep within, she was beginning to have those small feelings for him. But she wasn't sure what it was yet. But she knew she liked him. Probably because he was hardworking, he looked sincere, and he looked ambitious. She wasn't sure if she really loved him or she was just caring for him or pitying him. She wasn't really sure about her feelings. So with the passing days, OBIORA and Ngozi always sat down to talk towards the evening time. They conversed, they spoke little about themselves, but OBIORA barely spoke much. He always spoke about the factory, nothing personal. Factory work, activities that happened around them. There was nothing he was talking about his family or anything about himself. Ngozi was still satisfied with that. The fact that he was even speaking up to her was something that she was really grateful about. And with the passing days, 2 years came faster than expected. And OBIORA was done serving Mr. KALU. It was time for OBIORA to return back to wherever he was coming from. The day he had met Mr. KALU that he was about to leave, Mr. KALU looked at him and asked him, OBIORA, are you just going to live like that? OBIORA did not understand the question. He was trying to understand what Mr. KALU was trying to say. And Mr. KALU looked at him and said, are you sure you've learned everything you wanted to learn concerning Shu? And OBIORA said yes. And he asked OBIORA again, so are you sure you're willing to go? And OBIORA said yes, sir. Mr. KALU turned and looked at his daughter Ngozi and asked Ngozi, so now, are you willing to let OBIORA go? Ngozi said yes, Papa. So Mr. KALU left the living room so that OBIORA could talk to Ngozi. OBIORA looked at Ngozi and said, how are you? Ngozi said, I'm fine. I'm glad you're done. So very soon you're going to own your own business too, like Papa. OBIORA asked her, will you like to follow me? Ngozi said, no problem. Then he looked at her and told her, I don't have any money. I am not rich like your father. I can't even afford a luxurious kind of wedding. If I'm to get married to you, it's just going to be me, you, and your family. I don't have anyone. Ngozi said, no problem. And OBIORA asked her, why do you love me when you know nothing about me? Ngozi said, the heart wants what it wants, and I know your heart also wants me. If not, you won't be asking me all these questions. OBIORA said, no problem. My greatest fear in life is commitment. So if I'm going to start this journey with you, I want you to be 100% sincere with me. I don't want you to hide anything about you. I don't want you to smile when you're not comfortable. I don't want you to pretend to be okay when you're not okay. If you do that, you're hurting me because I'll always think you're okay. Moses said, then you don't know me if you feel that I'm someone that can pretend. And OBIORA said, we truly don't know anyone. Sometimes the feeling might be there and we'll just want to do it. Moses said, I'm fine by it. If you want me, then you have me all to yourself. Just pay my bride price. Pay it with the little money you saved while working for my father. That is the least you can do for me as someone you love. Don't allow my father give me to you as a charity case. Because he knows I like you, but at the end of the day, you have to pay my bride price and pay it well. OBIORA said, okay, no problem. So OBIORA extended his stay for 1 extra week. He wanted to talk to Mr. KALU concerning what he and Ngozi had spoken about. And 3 days after then, he met Mr. KALU and Mrs. KALU and explained everything. Mr. KALU was a bit scared, giving his daughter's hand in marriage to a total stranger who he barely knows anything about. But OBIORA had told them that he wasn't even living far from where they were staying. He was still in Asaba, that he had gotten somewhere to stay and also gotten a shop. It was just a 1-room apartment that he got. And Mr. KALU asked him, so why are you in a hurry to get married to my daughter? He looked at Mr. KALU and said, Ngozi is the only person that makes me feel comfortable. She's the only person that have ever made me smile in ways I could not. She made me realize who I am and who I want to be. And that's why I really want to be with her. I have this feeling that behind my life, I'm going to go places. Just this alone put encouragement in Mr. KALU's heart. And he called his daughter forth. And Ngozi was happy. She was ready to get married to OBIORA. And like they wanted, the marriage held in their living room. A very peaceful family wedding. Ngozi packed her belongings and followed OBIORA. While she was leaving, her both sisters couldn't stop complaining. They kept on lamenting and asking their parents why they had allowed Ngozi to get married to that poor church rat, someone who could barely feed himself. Their father had told them, "What you should know is that the moment a man gets married to a woman, he's more interested in making that woman happy. So don't worry. OBIORA might have saved a lot of money. Don't think that he's this poor because he barely wants to buy himself clothes." No matter what Mr. KALU said, his both daughter Chisom and Amaka were not even interested in it. Their sister would have gotten married to someone in their class. Why go get married to that poor thing? Whereas Ngozi was really excited. She had OBIORA all to herself. She had joy. OBIORA and Ngozi had moved to their one bedroom. They were very happy. OBIORA always came back and told her about work, how work went for the day, how things were going on fine, how God had blessed him. He was beginning to have customers. Ngozi got work in a bank and she was feeling bored. She couldn't stay at home every day waiting for OBIORA to come back. She didn't have anyone to talk to, not her sister, not her mom. So she had to go get a job for herself and she needed to support her husband. So she got a job in a bank. The bank wasn't paying her too much, but the bank paid fair. The pay was very, very fair. And with this little money, they were able to survive. OBIORA and Ngozi worked hand in hand to make sure that they were excited. And one thing that OBIORA noticed was that no matter how there was no money in the house, Ngozi always cooked with meat. And when he asked Ngozi, "Why do you always cook with meat even when we don't have money?" Ngozi looked at him and said, "No matter how poor you are, you should try to eat meat. All we eat every day is carbohydrate, rice, gari, and so many others. This meat or egg is the only protein we get to eat. So I just want to make sure that I put little protein for you. How often do we buy beans? Most times you complain that the beans gives you heartburn. So you know we don't always eat beans in the house." That's why OBIORA was glad. He never knew that Ngozi was this kind of person, being that she came from a very high, a rich home. One day, Ngozi had told him, "We were not always rich. We were once average, a bit poor. I could remember them sending me back home when we couldn't pay school fees. So we weren't that rich. We also had our struggles. I don't know why my sisters are that way. The money had gotten to their head, but at the same time, you know, if you've experienced something, then you know what it feels like to be poor. And that's just it." OBIORA was glad that he had gotten married to an understanding lady. And within this period, Ngozi had taken in barely 6 months into their marriage. Though this wasn't working in line with what OBIORA wanted, but he was in for it. And when Ngozi found out that she had taken in, she had called her mom to inform her. Her mom quickly came with her both sisters and a very big bag of foodstuffs. But when she came to the house, she found out that where they were staying was really small. She didn't want to complain, but she gave that funny look. And she told OBIORA, "I only brought something for my daughter. Oh. I just want to make sure that she's very, very comfortable during this pregnancy period. I don't want her to starve. I don't want her to drink gari." Deep down, Ngozi was asking herself, did she ever tell her mom that she was drinking gari in her husband's house? She was only sharing the good news with them, so why are they making it look like as if she's suffering where she is? She had never called them to complain for one thing. Neither had she called them to borrow money. She was okay. She tried to manage anything OBIORA brought back home. When her mom was done talking, she noticed that her sisters couldn't wait to leave. They kept on looking at the place like as if it was a slum. They kept on saying, "Mama, you know, don't. Mama, let's go beg. I'm not comfortable here. Oh, I don't even know if mosquito is biting me. What kind of place is this?" Ngozi, "How come you're comfortable living here? How many times have you treated malaria?" Ngozi was looking at her both sisters and she couldn't believe, but she wasn't ready to answer them. When they were done and they left, Ngozi quickly told her husband that she did not say anything like that. That she only called to tell them that she was pregnant, and that was it. OBIORA looked at his wife and said, "I know you did not. You don't have to explain yourself. Your eyes don't lie. Whenever I look into your eyes, I know you're saying the truth. And with the passing days, with OBIORA and Ngozi enjoying themselves, living in peace, OBIORA always wanting to listen to the baby's kick. And moving forward, one fateful day, OBIORA had returned. Saw his wife sitting down and seriously crying. And when he asked her, Ngo, why are you crying? Ngozi looked at her husband and said, I just came back from work and I wanted to eat garri and soup, but there's no soup in the house. OBIORA asked her, is that why you're crying? Why not eat rice? Ngozi said, there is no rice, there is no stew. I did not even know that our soup had finished. And she started crying again. OBIORA looked at her and said, why are you crying? You would have called me, I would have gotten something on my way coming back. She answered, I'm sorry, but did you sell anything today? OBIORA said, no. I said, okay, don't worry. But she was still crying, no. She cleaned her tears and she was still crying. While she was cleaning her tears and still crying at the same time, she said, don't worry, we'll just drink garri. OBIORA said, no, why are we going to drink garri? I said, so what do you want us to do now? It's already 9 o'clock. Even if we say we want to go to the night market, we'll not see anybody. OBIORA looked at his wife and said, don't worry. I don't want to leave you here alone, so let's go out. I'm going to buy you something so that you can at least take tea. Then early in the morning, I'll go to the market and buy you something. Ngozi looked at her husband and said, where are you going to get the money? I thought you said you did not sell today. So I'll take it from my safe. Ngozi said, no, now, don't worry, don't worry. It's not that money you're saving for your shopping. Don't worry now, it's not garri. I can drink it just this night. OBIORA said, no, you will not drink garri. For the fact that you cried, if you wanted to drink that garri, you would have drank it before I came back. But you don't want to drink garri. You just want to drink it in order to make me feel comfortable, so you're not going to drink garri. Ngozi said, okay, no problem. She cleaned her tears and followed her husband. And they stopped by a shop, got things they could use to take tea and bread for the night. And after they had eaten and went to bed, OBIORA woke up that night and thought to himself, what was the remedy to the situation? I need to bring my family out of this. So the next morning, OBIORA ran to the market, quickly bought things that they were going to use to make both soup and stew. Even though it wasn't that much, at least it was enough for both of them. He made it by himself. Ngozi did not go to work that day because it was a Saturday morning. And the moment she woke up, she ate to her satisfaction. She looked really excited. And she thanked her husband for helping to even clean the house while she was sleeping. OBIORA said, no problem. I knew you were going to be tired. So that's why I did everything. In the passing days, Ngozi was thinking of how to get money for baby's clothes. She quickly started picking thrifts for her baby. She also collected money from OBIORA to buy thrifts clothes for her baby. But when OBIORA saw the clothes, he quickly said, no. My son can't wear this, so. Ngozi laughed and said, you're funny. Do you think we have money to buy new clothes? OBIORA said, okay, no problem. And he quickly asked her, is your mom going to come around when you give birth? Ngozi said, no, there's no need for that. If she comes, where is she going to sleep? Are you going to sleep on the floor and have cold? Don't worry, we're going to manage. OBIORA said, okay, no problem. And few days to when Ngozi was to give birth, she noticed that OBIORA always came back excited, but she didn't know the reason. She just suspected that he had great sales. Whenever she asked, he would also say he had great sales. Until the day Ngozi was about to give birth. She had called her husband that her water had broke. OBIORA ran to the house to carry her to the hospital. Ngozi was expecting OBIORA to take her to the health center she registered for antenatal. But OBIORA took her to a private clinic, a standard private clinic. Ngozi gave birth to her bouncing baby boy. And after giving birth, she looked around and asked OBIORA, can we afford this? OBIORA said, don't worry, we can afford it and more. She looked at her husband again, did you win lottery? OBIORA said, my love, don't worry. And when it was time to go home, she noticed that OBIORA wasn't going in direction to their house. He said OBIORA was going to one big estate. This estate was an estate known for the elites, the rich. In fact, politician level kind of estate. You can't afford it if you were just normal rich. She was trying to understand if she was in trance Was it OBIORA? What was happening? OBIORA said, baby, don't worry yourself. We are going home. Ngozi said, which home? OBIORA said, I am taking you home. And the moment he got to this beautiful house, OBIORA took in the baby and came and carried her in. Because he was shocked. She was astonished. The building, everything speaking luxury. OBIORA looked at her, went down on one knee and quickly asked her, will you marry me? Ngozi was still trying to understand what was going on. Ngozi said, so why am I getting married to you again? Have we not already married? And that was when OBIORA told Ngozi his full name. I am OBIORA Umejiako. Ngozi was trying to understand. Did you just say you're OBIORA Umejiako? And OBIORA said yes. Ngozi looked at him and said, so why didn't you say anything since? Why did you hide it from me? OBIORA looked at her and said, because I already had everything planned. I already had everything figured out till you came my way. I never knew I was going to find love. I never expected such a love to find me either. And I wasn't ready to blow my cover. So I needed everything to fall in line the way I have planned it. Ngozi looked at him and said, do you love me? Let's be realistic now. Do you love me or do you like me because I liked you in my father's house or something? OBIORA stood up and held her tight and said, you're the better half I want to have even in my next life. You're that person that stood by me through thick and thin. Ngo, if I come to this world again and I don't find you, then I will go back and ask God for you. Ngozi couldn't stop crying. OBIORA kept on praising her. OBIORA kept on telling her good words. Ngozi was crying. OBIORA hugged her tight and said, thank you. Thank you for always standing by me. Thank you for always being that perfect wife. And he took her to her room. Ngozi was still a bit surprised with everything. But within 1 week, Ngozi had already adjusted. She wasn't that luxurious kind of wife. She was already adjusting to the whole building, waking up on a very big bed and seeing big things around her. But she was still okay. And that day, when Ngozi was sitting down and taking care of the son, OBIORA looked at her and said, why don't you invite your mom over? It's somehow that you gave birth and you've not told her. Ngozi asked him, are you sure? And OBIORA said yes. So, OBIORA quickly called his mother-in-law and invited her over, stating that his wife had given birth to a bouncing baby boy. Mrs. KALU packed only foodstuffs while she was going. She told her husband and daughters that she will be arriving, give or take, in 3 hours' time. That she was only going to take foodstuff for them because there was nowhere for her to sleep. But the moment she got to the house, no one was there. As OBIORA forgot to tell her that they were no longer in that house, as they've already adjusted to their real life, their normal new life. So she quickly called OBIORA and said, where are you people? Your house door is locked and no one is there. OBIORA quickly apologized and told her that he was sending someone to come and pick her up as they've relocated from that place due to the death of their newborn baby. He didn't want to add too much talk to it. OBIORA quickly sent his driver to go pick up his mother-in-law. And when they got to the estate, she kept on asking the driver, are you sure this is the direction to where you're taking me to? I am going to Mr. OBIORA's house. And the man said, yes, ma, he's my boss. He asked me to come and pick you. And when she got to the house, she couldn't stop screaming. And she asked OBIORA, what's going on here? Hope it's not Yahoo. Hope it's not quick money. OBIORA said, Mama, all those questions you're asking, it's not Yahoo, neither is it quick money. And when she turned and looked at OBIORA's family picture, that was when she actually knew that OBIORA was rich. In fact, OBIORA is a billionaire. The OBIORA Umejiako got married to her daughter. In fact, the OBIORA Umejiako had been living in her own boys' quarter. She couldn't believe. In fact, she was still in trance. The foodstuff she had brought was greatly accepted by OBIORA and his wife, as they were people that were natural about their life and everything. They accepted it and showed her her room. And also Mrs. KALU remembered that she did not come with one single clothes. Her daughter told her not to worry, that they were going to make clothes available for her. And before 24 hours, clothes were made available for Mrs. KALU. She settled in and did not even remember to call back home. Her husband called her and asked her, "Are you not returning? You asked us to give you 4 hours that you were going to return." Mrs. KALU told them that she decided to stay back for the omugo. Mr. KALU said, "Are you sure?" And she said yes. Ngozi had pleaded with her mom not to tell anybody anything for the meantime, as OBIORA was still planning to inform everyone himself. So Mrs. KALU made sure not to say anything. She just told them that she had accepted to stay for the omugo and she would get back to them when she was returning. And so her husband accepted, and everyone continued living in peace. Please and please, my beautiful family, what have you learned so far from this story? Before we drop the second part, I would like you to share what you've learned. And I would like to ask a question. What do you think will be the look on the faces of Chisom and Amaka? The people that called him church rats. The same people will go and see that he has never, ever been a church rat. His reasons for going to Mr. KALU will also be reviewed in our next episode. Stay tuned. So we'll see you again in our next episode. We'll still remain your favorite storyteller, Zika. Please and please do not forget to like our stories, share them to your loved ones. Bye for now.